Lemon 64 presents a Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi there, welcome to another Lemon 64 Play Guide and Review. In this week's episode, we'll be checking out Biggles, developed by Delali Software and released by the Microsoft label in 1986. Biggles is based on a 1986 movie, Biggles Adventures in Time, starring the very Ryan O'Neal-like Neil Dixon, and that was Peter Cushing's last movie. It was supposed to be a Raiders of the Lost Ark movie, but Back to the Future came out, and so they rewrote the plot so it involved time travel. And the Biggles character was originally written by W.E. Johns, and he wrote over 160 books between 1922 and 1968. And of course, Biggles is a World War I fighter pilot, and in this game we get to take control of that character. This game is split into two halves, and in the first half that is also split into three different games. In the first part we get to fly our crate over a World War I type battle zone, and in the second part, if we get killed in that, then we get to move into 1980s rooftop sequence, and if we fall flat, then we get to move back in time to what looks like a World War II adventure, and if we die, then we'll have to move around between those three scenarios. Rooftop section, all those enemies are relatively dumb and you have to literally collide with those. In other words, you have to walk straight into them in order to lose any energy or life in this game, and if you fall from that rooftop, of course you'll lose a life as well. So all you have to do is to walk towards the edge and pressing the spacebar to move different characters, and walk towards the edge and press that fire button right on the edge, and hopefully, well, sometimes you can get through it. And all we have to do on the flying section is avoid all these fockers, dive bombing us from the air, and all this flak which is trying to blow us out of that sky. To keep us motivated, we also have a music track which plays through the entire game, and that was created by Ben Dalglish. And that gets increasingly louder as the game goes on, but at least it's a step up from the very 1980s sounding introduction music, and at the time I really didn't mind this music, but now it really grates on those nerves. The aim is simply to survive each level and get all the way to the end to reach a checkpoint, and once that checkpoint is met, then that will be skipped every time we die, and all we have to do is to clear the other sections, and once all three are clear, well, we can move on to the next section, which is on side B of the tape, and is another file to load off that disc. Under fire at every stage, including in the rooftop section. You can see snipers hanging out of those windows, determined to blow our heads off. But you can see the enemy AI is pretty blind to our efforts, and it doesn't take much intelligence to avoid those, but you still have to be pixel perfect to make those jumps. Wander to the edge and can't make it. Sometimes we cannot jump, but sometimes if we jump too early, then we'll simply jump to our doom, and there's nothing we can do about it. And right at the end of this rooftop level is the code that we need to access the second part of the game, but unfortunately we won't get there on this playthrough. When we lose all our lives, we'll have to return back to that title page, and there is no high score table in this game, but there is a high score. You can see on the bottom right, high scores, and that will linger into the next playthrough. So you can see we managed to score 4,550 points on our last try, and this game is difficult. It certainly requires patience, so let's give that another bash and let's see if we can make it. Sometimes we are given a stock of bombs on this level, and we can go bomb dropping, and that's always a novel feature. But in no time at all, we find ourselves back on that roof, and I have made it to the end of this roof section, but it does require some practice, and when we die we'll find a load of bullet holes in those icons at the bottom of the screen. You can see a load of bullet holes in the World War I plane, and if we die in this section then more bullet holes will appear in that helicopter, and if we die in the Green Beret section then the central icon you can see, which looks like Fort Knox, well that will get some bullet holes in it as well. And trying to lob a grenade there, that didn't really work, and that brings us back at random to whichever scenario that we failed on before, and whichever scenario needs our attention. So you can see this game is an absolute nightmare sometimes, flicking backwards and forwards in time, and it really does test the patience of the player, because as soon as they die they are taken somewhere completely at random. We've no idea who programmed this game or created the graphics, but we do know that this section was created inspired by Green Beret, and that would unfortunately account for a lot. And Green Beret, just like Green Beret, it's very hard. You can see we get a number of grenades as well in this section, and if we hold down that fire button we can lob those, which is great. Certainly better than Green Beret, but yet again pixel dodging is required to dodge these bullets, and sometimes these simply lead to dead ends and we'll need to find a ladder to get out of there. So I don't seem to be advancing very far in this video game conversion of a well, I wouldn't say it was a hit movie, but I've certainly seen that movie at least 3 times, and as I say, it was Peter Cushing's final movie. He has a dwelling place somewhere in Tower Bridge, and I think the movie could have been much better. It's simply a throwaway B-movie trying to cash in on Indiana Jones and Back to the Future, and I think it's a throwaway Sunday matinee film and didn't really warrant a computer game. So for the final time, let's try to make it a little bit further on the Commodore 64, and yes, this was released on the ZX Spectrum and the Amstrad CPC machine as well, and probably the 64 version is the best, except for this music, which is pretty darned annoying, and will certainly come under fire from heavy machine guns in this game and things later on, but it's very annoying when you have to avoid every single thing, and unfortunately you'll die. Not quite sure whether this introduction music comes from the movie as well. I have a funny feeling that it does because it sounds very much 1980s. But apart from that, I think the presentation is okay, and certainly the graphics are okay. The controls are a little bit fiddly, and it doesn't help changing scenarios every few seconds. But if you do manage to get through all those 3 scenarios, you'll find a passcode to the second game, and this is the end game, and the passcodes are aces and high, as well as chocks and away apparently. But on this cracked disc you can simply enter any passcode, and the first thing we'll do is to take away that annoying music by pressing the S key, and we'll also press the M key to bring up a map of the area. In this part of the movie, they've managed to teleport a helicopter back to 1917, and we have to use that helicopter to get to our destination, and we'll find out the coordinates of that destination, having also completed all 3 of those previous levels. I have no idea where the coordinates are on this map, and I've certainly no idea which way to go. But in this game, we fly in a 3D landscape in a helicopter. You can see in the top right corner it gives us a readout of our speed, and on the dash it gives us our altitude and our current heading. And on the map, if you head towards yellow dots, or hopefully green dots, there will be places to visit. But apart from that, I can't really understand this part of this game, and having never actually got to this far when I had this on the original C64 tape, I've never actually seen it before. But you can see the front line is highlighted by a yellow line, and we are a very tiny yellow dot on the screen, and we can slow down, speed up and control this thing very much like a helicopter, of course, and this wouldn't have made such a bad helicopter sim in its own right. It's certainly not as annoying as the first part of the game because we don't have to switch landscapes every few seconds. We'll continue to be under fire, but that doesn't seem to damage our chopper, and as long as we keep plugging on in the right direction, hopefully we'll make it. But again, I've no idea which one is the right direction, and pressing all the keys on the keyboard I can actually fire my guns either, if it's possible to fire those, and I'm not quite sure whether we can go off the bottom of this map. It makes quite a funny sound there, and I think that this is the bottom of the map. But you can also see guys on the floor, and I'm not quite sure whether you can shoot those because I haven't managed to do it, and I haven't managed to pick those guys up either. I think this second part of the game could have been done much better, and it's very tricky to control the helicopter and keep that thing moving, pointing forwards without crashing into that landscape. You see we're hovering 216 meters in the air, and as long as we keep the nose pointed down, we'll gain maximum speed, and speed really isn't the issue, but unfortunately progress is when we've no idea what we're supposed to do. It's also very annoying for another reason, and that's because it keeps producing a large heavy beeping sound when we cannot get to that target, and you can see a large yellow block on the floor. If we head towards that, we'll simply gain that beeping sound, and we cannot actually turn towards it. So I'm not quite sure what that is, and that may be a base or an installation that we need to avoid. But moving back to the scores on this game, your computer gave this 6 out of 10, Commodore user gave this 6 out of 10, the highest score was CMVG, Computer and Video Games, gave this 80%, 8 out of 10, and Zap64 gave this 48%, with the Lemon 64 score currently at 64%, which gives this game an average score of 6 out of 10. And it's above average. There's certainly a lot going on for your money, and this certainly was a cut price budget release. And I think if the levels had been polished up a little bit more, with a little bit more explanation of what you're supposed to do on each one, then this game certainly would have been great value for money. Thank you once again for viewing another Commodore 64 play guide and review, and I hope to see you again soon in the next one. Thank you.